Well, today is Veterans Day, and this is the day that we express our thanks, our gratitude, and our appreciation for the men and women who are willing to put on the nation's uniform, to stand a post, to stand guard, to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, the American way of life, and our freedom. And so today we say thank you. Yet at the same time, it has become glaringly obvious since the warning issued by Dwight D. Eisenhower as he was leaving the presidency and making way for the Kennedy administration. He warned the United States about the growing military-industrial complex that make their money through endless war. We are certainly witnessing firsthand presidential administrations under George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, that seemingly have a penchant for endless war, and how it not only financially benefits that military-industrial complex, but the very politicians who vote for all of this themselves. Vivek Ramaswamy at the last GOP debate really went after Nikki Haley hard. And of course, the lying legacy corporate corrupt mainstream media, as well as some conservative pundits, especially some female conservative pundits, are rallying to the aid of a neocon like Nikki Haley. Not necessarily because they agree with her or they think her policies are great, but there's just that knee-jerk reaction, well, she's a woman, you can't talk to her like that. But Vivek sat down with Patrick Bet-David, and he brought receipts and he laid out how Nikki Haley and her family, when bombs explode, their bank account grows. Let's get into this.
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth.
Hi, I'm Pastor Marty. This is the Afternoon Drive. So glad to have you along. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure that you are a subscriber to the channel. Once you are, smack the bell, click the word all. That gets you notification of my rants, my ravings, and my undeniably flawless, without a doubt, reasonings. Hey, and then please like and share this video. That's how we get the word out that we're here. Thank you so much for tuning our way, and I hope today I make you mad. Because if I'm making you mad, hopefully I'm not just getting you to react, but it's making you think. This is the podcast for thinking people. So while on Veterans Day, we honor the service of our veterans. My father was U.S. Navy. I have a son who is active duty in the military as well as in a military academy, a military institution. He will be an officer. I have great respect for the men and women who are willing to sacrifice. Yet it has become apparently glaring that our government, hell-bent on stirring up war anywhere and everywhere, all about aiding a military-industrial complex, all of these regime changes that do nothing but put places, in particular the Middle East, on perpetual fire always. We have to take a step back and just follow that age-old adage. Follow the money. Follow the money. Vivek Ramaswamy sat down with Patrick Bet-David, and he brought the receipts about Nikki Haley and how she makes her money. And he raised a couple of interesting points. First of all, he said, if we're going to go after Hunter Biden and he and his dad influence peddling, and then that kicks billions back to Ukraine as a result, why are we not going after Nikki Haley and her husband who supply weapons yet do not have to disclose who they are selling weapons to? Bum, ba-dum, bum. And does it not make reasonable sense that if she becomes, quote, the president, that her foreign policy will be dictated by what financially benefits her through the fact that she sells arms. She is part of the military-industrial complex. Will she not govern and legislate in a way that benefits the industry she represents? Military arms. And he asked a bigger question. Where is the real reporters hunting this down? Now, they want to talk about Vivek, referring to her 3-inch heels. They want to talk about Vivek being snarky and, kind of getting after her that how dare you criticize him for being on TikTok while your daughter's on TikTok. And everybody says it's a cheap shot at cheap. Well, while you're worrying about all that, where's the Operation Deep Throat that took down Nixon? The investigative reporters that would start digging into the life and story of Nikki Haley, how she went from bankrupt to multimillionaire to an arms dealer. Where's that journalism? Where's that story? No, you'll crawl through Donald Trump. Did he overvalue Mar-a-Lago when seeking a loan? Which, by the way, not a single bank anywhere is claiming victimhood from doing deals with Donald Trump. Donald Trump made money. The banks made money. There is no victim. And some judge sitting in New York City who's probably never even been to Mar-a-Lago decides on his own, it's worth $18 million. I'm sure the $200 million property next door loved hearing that. So we'll crawl through Donald Trump's finances. Remember, for years, where's his tax returns? Where's his tax returns? It never interested me how a billionaire businessman became a billionaire. And we already know that, billionaire businessmen do what they do and they get their money. We get it. What I want to know is how does somebody like a Nancy Pelosi, who goes into Congress is upper middle class and will leave Congress worth about $200 million? How did she make her money while in Congress? How did Nikki Haley go from bankrupt to millionaire? Well, again, Vivek Ramaswamy, he brought the receipts. I'm not going to interrupt it. This is about a 6-minute clip. You need to watch it and watch it in its entirety. This is a cha-ching, mic drop moment.
But the person who's actually corrupt in this, like outright corrupt, is Nikki Haley.
Really?
Yeah, she's corrupt. And in the way that, like, Joe Biden is corrupt.
Is that when you said you made money with Boeing board?
Yeah, I mean, if you just kind of go through the facts here, right? I mean, just like, this is somebody privately benefiting from their public service, right? This is wrong. It's wrong when Hunter Biden does it. Oh, and by the way, all these people, including Nikki Haley, will talk about Hunter Biden. Interesting how that works. Joe Biden's son. She's happy to talk about him without talking about the corruption in her own family. So she's governor of South Carolina, does special favors for this company called Boeing her entire time while she's in office. After her time in public service, she has a nice little cush board seat, ready, warm, waiting for her at Boeing. A private company flies around in a private jet. I think it was some Nephron Pharmaceutical, some pharmaceutical company. I forget what name it was. I'd never heard of it. It's not even some major company, and I come from that industry, but it's some random company that's getting, I don't know what the name of it is, that I haven't heard of. It's okay, but flying her around on their private jet, making their private jet available to her, get state contracts from that governor. And I could go on. I mean, this is just a consistent pattern. Okay, this person has repeatedly milked and done favors for people who have scratched her back. She does her short-lived, cup of coffee stint at the UN, okay? Very short-lived stint. Her real foreign policy experience wasn't her time at the UN. It was the millions she made afterwards. After she steps down, her family starts a military contracting firm, Allied Defense LLC. If the mainstream press were doing their decisions, Allied Defense should have to disclose who their clients are. I did something that normal business people don't do. I've put up 20 years of my tax records, personal tax filings. She should put up 20 years of her personal tax filings and put up the clients of Allied Defense LLC. If you're running for U.S. president, tell us who the damn clients are of the military contractor that you started, presumably using your connections from the UN. Starts the military contracting firm. Starts, again, then serving on the board of Boeing. Ends up giving secretive speaking fees from foreign actors while also running a military contracting firm. Think about that. It's Hillary Clinton on steroids. You could just go down the list. She's somebody who literally during this presidential campaign, as far as I know, it's unprecedented in U.S. presidential election history, collecting corporate stock options while running for U.S. president. And now she's a multimillionaire. And by the way, what I left out was at the time she left the UN, she and her family were drowning in debt. By the way, for somebody who's an accountant, that's a discussion for another day. But goes from being and wants to run the U.S. and says that she's the candidate who's going to fix our national debt problem. Comes out of government, drowning in personal debt, uses connections to start a military contracting firm without naming their clients, somebody who actually then joins the board of Boeing, the company whose back she's scratched forever while governor of South Carolina, another military contractor, speaking fees, including with foreign actors, Hillary Clinton style, collecting stock options while running for U.S. president, all of that, then emerges, just like Joe Biden, a multimillionaire. These are not the people, whether it's Biden or Haley, these are not the people we should want deciding whether to send your kids to die fighting somebody else's war. It's disqualifying. At the very least, be transparent about it. And then you get to the question of the press. Where's the press asking the questions? Okay. What are the clients of Allied Defense LLC? It's a dereliction of your duty as the certainly conservative press to ask that basic question. Why shouldn't the American people know who are the clients of the military contracting firm that her fortune bumps up eightfold, becomes a multimillionaire, exploiting her connections at the time at the UN, now running to be commander-in-chief on a hawkish worldview, marching us into World War III? We deserve to know. And yet, the same establishment that props up Ronna McDaniel as the chair of the RNC, the same establishment that hires the likes of Kristen Welker to run that debate, the same establishment that tried to prop up Ron DeSantis but realized that even reams of millions could not lift up that dead weight, so now has shifted to Nikki Haley, does not want other people like me asking that question, which is why they're so keen to silence me.
And that's why she called you scum.
Oh, yeah, and I think it's a lot of projection going on there.
Yeah, because you hurt the wallet. You hurt the wallet, though. If you think about it, Vivek, that everybody in that stage was pro-war. And Pat made a point about a month ago when you see
bloodthirsty.
When you see a hospital, Vivek, all those rooms, they're in business. They need sick people to be in there.
Yep.
We need a war, and it's a conflict of interest. If you're a defense contracting, your whole family, her husband Michael Haley owns one. Would you become president, Vivek? Would you put legislation to like not have that happen?
All of this corruption should be banned. You should not be able to lobby the government for 10 years until after you've left the government. If you have regulated a company or done a deal with a company, as you do in South Carolina with Boeing, you absolutely should never be able to join the board of that company, certainly not for 10 or 20 years. Okay? You shouldn't be able to trade individual stocks with your own individual investment discretion if you're a congressman or a regulator of
or
that
Nancy
specific
Pelosi.
industry. Yeah, or Nancy Pelosi. But here's the thing, man, because I have been very critical of the corrupt Democratic establishment, the Pelosi's, the Bidens, the Hillary Clintons of the world. But I can't do that with credibility if we have the same problem in our own house, but then you're not supposed to talk about it. Okay? And here's the thing that, the Republican Party claims to be the party that is against identity politics. I mean, there's an unspoken rule in the Republican Party that if you have two X chromosomes, you got to be careful about going after her. And I get that. I mean, the political consulting class tells me that as well in the first couple debates. Yeah, I've probably got the bad advice, but, she's called me four-letter words each of the last few debates, but there's a certain thing, if you have two X chromosomes, somehow you're immune from criticism. That's not what the Republican Party stands for. Identity politics. If you're running for U.S. president, you can't handle the heat, you stay out of the kitchen. You want to sit across the table from Xi Jinping? You better be able to confront basic questions like your tax returns or how you made your money or who the clients of Allied Defense LLC are, and how that relates to your foreign policy that, frankly, makes more money by taking us to war.
Come on, Megyn Kelly. Ask Nikki the tough questions. You're going to be moderating the next debate. Will you go after her on this? Or will you protect her because she's of the same gender? Will you protect her because you agree more with her neocon ideas of middle-of-the-road conservatism than you do MAGA? Hey, come on, Candace Owens, where are you on this one? Where are the female conservative so-called commentators and journalists? Where are you? There's a story here. Who's going to tell it?